June.
Round 17 laps ahead of them. The 2.17-mile circuit here at Cadwell Park. A total race distance of 36.9 miles, and away they go. And the customary start from Chris Walker. It's the whole shot as they go into Coppice. Chris Walker leads. Number 4, Neil Hodgson, tucked in behind. A good start by the front row man, James Hayden. Both of the Team Revy Racing Ducatis. Front row and good start. Reynolds is in 4th, but it's Walker leading. Hayden 3rd, Reynolds 4th. The field stringing their way now along Park Straight up towards the right-hander of Park. And this is a very, very tight bend, and it doubles up as they go along a little short straight here, then squirt it again into Chris Curve. This taken in 3rd gear, heading off now as they exit this down toward the gooseneck. But a good start in brilliant sunshine here in front of a full house in terms of spectator value at Cadwell. Walker leads, the rear end sliding. Roger, he's got to go pretty steadily in these early stages, otherwise cold tyres and all that, yeah?
Well, this is the approach now to the bottom of the mountain. Chris got the back end a little bit loose from Mansfield. This is into the bottom of the mountain. You'll see now the front wheel. Look at the bike leap off the track there. Fabulous pictures. We're getting into Hall Bends. 2nd gear, 70 miles an hour, 75 now, 80. Back down the gearbox to 1st gear for the hairpin. This is out of the hairpin, then to 2nd gear. Look at the acceleration of the Suzuki out of their barn corner. This is the reconfigured barn corner. We said it had added a short distance to the track, but it certainly made it safer as they come through the start and finish to complete the first lap.
Well, it was noticeable out of barn corner that the race leader, number 2, Chris Walker, accelerated really, really well. He got the drive on the Suzuki out of barn and pulled away from the Ducati of Neil Hodgson coming onto the straight. If that's going to be a characteristic lap by lap, then of course it will be vital as they come out of barn for the final time on the sprint down to the flag. But Reynolds, in your picture, the 4th place man, number 3, John Reynolds, making a move for 3rd. He came here 12 points adrift of the championship leader Neil Hodgson, and that's his teammate James Hayden ahead of him, and Reynolds was leading Hayden by 41 points coming here, so obviously Reynolds, number 3, has got to get past the number 5 Ducati, who took an enormous wiggle, James Hayden, as I said the words. So Reynolds knows what he's got to do. It's very warm here, very sticky on track. We're on board with Chris Walker, looking back at the championship leader.
Hodgson there very fast into the bottom of the mountain. Watch the bike go airborne at the top, and it did. Past the cafe there on the right-hand side into Hall Bends. Now this is the difficult part of the track, I would say. A single line through here, very difficult to overtake before going down to 1st gear for the hairpin, then up to 2nd, and then into barn corner. 80 miles an hour on the exit of here, and the riders now come through onto the start and finish to get the messages from the pit boards you see there, before going up to 6th gear, back to 4th gear for Coppice. This is very fast corner indeed, 120 miles an hour, then right into Charlie's. You can't see the second part of Charlie's, which we can see now from the entry point, and that poses a difficulty for these superbike riders as Hodgson gets extremely well tucked down under the bubble there. Maximum slipstream effect up the straight to Park Corner.
Well, these 4 are getting away, but in 5th place and hanging on very well in 5th place is former champion number 7 Neil Mackenzie, and he's got the opportunity here at Cadwell to improve his championship standings because the man in front of him in the championship, Steve Hislop, is not competing, still carrying that injury from his World Superbike crash at Brands Hatch. So we have 2 GSE Ducatis in the top 5, 2 Team Revy Racing Ducatis in the top 5, and out in front the lone Suzuki of Chris Walker. Walker at Charlie's, driving, and a big move, the rear end of the Suzuki let go. That's allowed Neil Hodgson to close, and now he smells the lead, takes it on the left-hand side up towards Park, but Walker's a demon on the brakes. Is he going to hold Hodgson off? No, he isn't. Neil Hodgson, championship leader, is now race leader of round 17, and Chris Walker will be kicking himself for that. He knows he's made a mistake. Also, John Reynolds, number 3, has closed, and the order they're now in the championship. Hayden's down. Hayden is down as well. Now, that's Park. John Reynolds in a 16-point position at the moment. Came here with a 12-point deficit. Needs to improve on that 3rd place. And Roger, he's closing.
Well, he's closing, but there's very little time left because this is through now to start the last lap, and Chris Walker will know that, Neil Hodgson will know that, and John Reynolds will. And John Reynolds is likely to settle for that third place, knowing that Walker and Hodgson are capable of getting into a last lap fracas, as we've seen on several occasions this year so far. But this time Hodgson looks like he's probably got clear of Chris Walker, and Chris probably hasn't got an answer at this stage for him.
No, the gap now 5 or 6 machine lengths at Park, and then squirting along the back to Chris Curve. Chris Curve taken in third, heading down towards the gooseneck, which is a very, very steep off-camber downhill drop. They go left into the gooseneck, flick out through the bottom, and then away down the hill towards Mansfield, second gear corner. This is where Chris Walker is very quick, and this is where he closes. And look over the shoulder from Neil Hodgson. Tail enders ahead of them, and that looks like Dave Redgate, number 35. Yes, it is. It's Dave Redgate. Is he going to get in the way of Neil Hodgson? Over the mountain goes Hodgson. He's clear of Redgate. Walker now has to get past the tail ender. Oh, no, he is stuck behind Dave Redgate, number 35. That's given Neil Hodgson the advantage. A shake of the head from Suzuka's Chris Walker. A wistful shake of the head. He knew he had an opportunity there, and I won't say he blew it, but that opportunity was taken from him as Neil Hodgson gets the checkered flag, jubilant in victory, left hand in the air, and the air horns here at Cadwell sound. A fantastically supportive crowd, and he has to be delighted with that one. I'm very sorry, mate, says Dave Redgate. Don't worry, said Chris, we've got one more race to go. Well, confirmation with a stunning wheelie and a stunning win by Neil Hodgson. Walker, Reynolds third, Mackenzie fourth place. That will do his championship standings the world of good. It's a personal best for John Crawford in fifth, and a great return by Shane Byrne in seventh. Round 18, and although Chris Walker said the sun is out, it has rained very heavily between the races, and there are some extremely damp patches. And of course, Cadwell Park in the wooded section, you can see the water on the circuit for yourself. There's a dry bit here, of course, because it drains well, but once they get back into the wooded area, under the trees, it's going to be extremely slippery. They are all on slick tyres. They have no choice because the sun is burning. And Neil Mackenzie had a problem. He's starting from pit lane on the spare bike. He's just on the straight, and they're already at Park. So Neil Mackenzie, fourth in round 17, is half a lap adrift of the front runners as they get underway for the second race here. And it's Chris Walker again who's got the whole shot, and he is now drawing away. He knows full well that hunting him down will be Neil Hodgson again. A better start by Steve Plater, fourth for number 22 on the Kawasaki, fifth in qualifying, fourth in this round 18 start. Can Steve Plater, I wonder, hang on to it? Here he is.
On board with Steve Plater off the start. Look at the spray coming off the wheels of James Hayden and John Reynolds as we approach Coppice Corner. Reynolds looked like he got boxed into me there on the left-hand side of the screen. Well, Neil Hodgson looks like he's got the conditions under control now, and he's started to attack and go after Chris Walker. He knows that he can't let Chris get away because the championship is between these two, and they battled in the earlier race today, and it looks like we're going to have a repetition of that in this race. But the circuit in fabulous condition. The circuit staff at Cadwell Park have all worked exceptionally hard to make sure that the circuit is in the condition that it's in, and to try and get the spectators in. And for those spectators that have not been able to get in today, we do apologise, but Hodgson nearly lost the back end there. That's a sign of just how slippery it is, Barry. I do think that he got on the white line there on the inside. Well, it's an altogether tricky circuit, and one young man who's spectating here today, James Toseland, who was the leading Honda championship runner until he broke his leg here a month ago at Cadwell Park testing. I just wonder if we'll see Toseland back on a bike before the end of the season. I hope so, because he was getting better and better and better on the SP1. And one man who is going quicker and quicker and quicker around here is James Hayden, chasing hard in third, holding off the challenge from Steve Plater, who's in a personal best position in fourth place. We've just had a note up here in the commentary box, in fact, that Neil Mackenzie's problem was that he fell off. He crashed in the wet on the warm-up lap and is actually out on his spare bike. Well, that could be the reason for Mackenzie. We notice his lap times are quite slow. He's out on the spare bike. Probably got a little bit shaken by the fact that he came off on the warm-up lap. But Hodgson's right on the back of Chris Walker, and this is an identical copybook move to the one that he made on Walker in the earlier race today, and that was as a consequence of Chris making a mistake at Charlie's Bend and Neil Hodgson getting a much better drive. And those bikes are different. Hodgson's riding the Ducati, the V-twin, the big 996 Ducati on bike 4, and Chris Walker the 4-cylinder inline Suzuki 750cc. So those are the rules, but the characteristics of these bikes are completely different.
And doesn't Chris Walker work it hard? Look, he moves all over the bike from right to left. He's hanging on it. He really wrings its neck at every opportunity. He knows full well now that what he cannot afford to do is let number 4 Neil Hodgson stretch a gap. There might be an opportunity in the closing stages because, oh, and another big rear end loose job by Neil Hodgson when he came over the top there. Not the happiest of places for him in the woods here. Hayden is close. Steve Plater hanging on really, really well in 4th place, so we have a battle for 3rd, and this, the overtaking move, as Roger Burnett said, neatly by on the left-hand side. Well, there will be tail enders coming into play, as I said. It's simply a question of where they meet them. They would far prefer to catch them on the wide open sections. There you can see the top 5. Who's running in 6th should be John Crawford, number 11, I suspect. He's having a very good ride on the Suzuki, but the little gritty Scotsman would have preferred to have been going quicker earlier on in the season. I think it's taken him longer to adapt to the superbike. Double 600cc champion John Crawford. Look how close Chris Walker is now in 2nd place. He's not letting Neil Hodgson get away. James Hayden riding remarkably well in 3rd, and now we have a 3-man scrap for the lead, and we have a 2-man scrap at the moment for the championship lead. Even if Chris Walker were to get past Neil Hodgson, he could not head him in the championship, but they would go home in exactly the same position that they came here in, just 1 point separating them. That will be on Chris Walker's mind. Out over the pit wall will be his board, telling him exactly what he's got to do. He has never been as close as this. Is there going to be an opportunity? Down to Barn, onto the new tarmac, squirting out again. It's a wider dry line now, but it's just on the exit of the corner. They've got to stay off the white stuff, of course.
Well, onto the final lap now, so it's now or never, and Chris Walker's lining up Neil Hodgson. Sparks coming off the Suzuki. He's trying on the inside. Hodgson chopped across the front of Chris Walker, and in my book, Chris nearly fell off the side of the bike there, lost the back end again. Look how much ground he's lost in one corner, and it's going to be very difficult now for him to get back at Hodgson.
Well, Chris Walker must be thinking, that's it, it's all over. Half a lap left now of Cadwell Park. It's going to be a double here for Neil Hodgson unless something goes dramatically wrong. The surface is almost 100% dry. This will suit the Ducati rider more and more and more. Similarly, John Reynolds now well placed in 4th, pushing on, but the gap now 3, 4, maybe 5 bike lengths as they go down into Mansfield, and there are tail enders. Whether they will catch the back markers or not before the checkered flag. Oh, they're on them already. Hodgson is on them. It looks like Dave Redgate again, and Mackenzie's in there. That's Hodgson's teammate. Number 7, Neil Mackenzie, is about to be lapped, but Hodgson is queuing behind him. He cannot afford to take his time. No, he can't. Walker's coming. Walker's on the he's got past Hodgson. He's on the inside, Chris Walker. Neil Hodgson fighting back, but it's Walker. Is Walker going to get through the other tail enders? He's got 2 ahead of him. He's got to squirt it away now towards the checkered flag. Moves over to make sure, and Walker has got it. What a sensational result. It's 1 race apiece, and the championship stays just 1 point separating these two. What an unbelievable result, and a good 3rd place by James Hayden. An abundance of mutual respect and affectionate patting there from the leading trio, and that is the confirmation. Reynolds indeed did get 4th from Plater, Emmett, Rutter and Young, the top 8.